The war seemed lost, the aliens unstoppable. Then centuries-old Terran dreadnoughts awaken, their energy blazing. Humanity fights back with courage and strategy. The battle for the stars begins. Subscribe now. Humanity had grown confident after centuries of exploration. Their fleets patrolled distant star systems, colonies thrived on planets once thought unreachable, and technology made life feel safe and predictable. People believed nothing could threaten them. Generations had come to see humans as masters of the galaxy. Yet far beyond the edge of known space, strange signals began to appear, faint and mysterious. Sensors picked up unusual energy patterns. Scientists studied them, most dismissing it as a minor anomaly, but some felt a creeping unease. Then, without warning, an alien armada appeared, massive fleets moving with precision and speed. Ships of unfamiliar design glimmered with strange energy. Human patrols were overwhelmed in moments. Commanders watched helplessly as defensive lines shattered. Strategies that had never failed before fell apart. Reports of destroyed ships and colonies arrived in rapid succession. Fear spread quickly through every command center. Humans realized they faced an enemy unlike any before, one that did not hesitate, one that seemed unstoppable. In the heart of human command, leaders gathered, mapping star systems, activating emergency protocols, debating the best course of action. Some hoped negotiation could work, others warned that war was unavoidable. Tension filled the rooms as uncertainty grew. Fleets mobilized, but every move seemed too slow against the alien advance. Humans understood that conventional tactics would not be enough. The enemy's strength and coordination were beyond anything they had faced. Across colonies, scientists raced to study alien technology, trying to understand its energy, weapons, and propulsion. Simulations ran endlessly, but progress was slow. The technology seemed alive, defying physics and logic. Even the brightest minds admitted the aliens operated on a level humans had not yet achieved. Desperation grew as more reports of destruction came in. Each new message worse than the last, and hope began to feel fragile. Amid the fear, whispers of old Terran powers resurfaced. Stories of ancient ships and technologies built during humanity's early expansion, long thought lost or forgotten. Historians and archivists pored over centuries-old texts and cryptic schematics. Hints of dormant powers spread through command channels. Hope flickered that these old technologies might be humanity's key to survival, a hidden strength waiting to be awakened. Colonies prepared for attacks. Civilians evacuated or armed. Young recruits trained quickly. Veterans recalled. Families said hurried goodbyes, some knowing they might never return. Yet determination remained strong. Humans refused to surrender without a fight, their courage and creativity burning even in the darkest hours. AI systems assisted in planning defenses, calculating odds that human minds could not follow. Combining human intuition with machine logic led to small victories, slowing the alien advance, but the enemy seemed always a step ahead, learning or instinctively anticipating human moves. Each day became a test of endurance, courage, and ingenuity. At night, people across planets looked to the stars with new fear. The calm of centuries shattered, the galaxy no longer felt safe. Humanity faced a defining moment that would test every skill, every ounce of courage, and the very will to survive. The storm had arrived, and no one could predict the outcome. Humans had believed they had mastered the universe, but now survival demanded more than technology or numbers. It demanded rediscovering something long forgotten, a power lying dormant, waiting for the right moment. And even as fear spread, humans prepared, ready to fight for their future. Hoping that the ancient strength of Terrans would awaken and turn the tide, the alien forces struck without mercy, descending on human fleets with speed and precision. Ships that had once patrolled the stars with ease were torn apart in moments. Orbital stations exploded under beams of energy unlike anything humans had encountered. Transports carrying civilians were caught in crossfire, and panic spread among colonies. Human commanders struggled to coordinate defenses. Traditional tactics failed against enemies that moved unpredictably, but with perfect coordination. Sensors barely registered the alien movements before entire squadrons vanished. Fear gripped even the most seasoned captains. In the first hours of the attack, reports of devastation flooded Central Command. Entire fleets wiped out before reinforcements could arrive. Stations that had once been considered safe were reduced to rubble. The scale of the destruction shocked the galaxy. Humans realized that this was no ordinary war. Their enemy was organized, ruthless, and technologically advanced. The sheer magnitude of the alien armada made it clear that humanity's survival was at stake. And the leaders of the human fleets began to question whether conventional weapons could even make a difference. Amid the chaos, a few brave Terran captains refused to give in, organizing desperate counterattacks against impossible odds. Small groups of ships engaged the enemy, buying time for civilian evacuations. Pilots pushed their ships to limits beyond training, weaving through beams of energy, evading missiles, and striking at alien vessels with what little firepower remained. Their bravery inspired those around them. But even their courage could not prevent the relentless advance of the alien armada. Morale among the fleet fluctuated between hope and despair. Scientists and engineers worked frantically to understand the alien technology, studying their energy sources, weapon systems, and propulsion methods. Even partial understanding seemed impossible. Alien ships responded to attacks in ways human simulations could not predict. Their shields adapted, weapons reoriented, and movements anticipated human strategies. The gaps in human knowledge highlighted how unprepared they truly were. And the longer the battle continued, the more humanity realized that survival depended not just on courage, but on understanding powers far beyond their own. Amid the fear and destruction, stories of ancient Terran technology resurfaced. Whispered legends spoke of ships and weapons designed for moments just like this. Vessels capable of fighting foes that seemed unstoppable. Historians and military archivists searched dusty archives and hidden records, piecing together fragments of schematics and notes from generations past. Hope sparked as fleets considered whether these forgotten powers could be reactivated. Even a single Terran dreadnought might change the balance, and the thought gave humans a reason to fight harder. Civilians and colonies tried to survive the initial onslaught. Evacuation ships navigated through chaotic space, avoiding alien patrols while carrying families and resources to safety. Soldiers defended key positions despite overwhelming odds. Every small victory mattered, and each act of courage became part of the story of humanity's resistance. Communities held together by shared fear and determination, teaching even the youngest recruits that survival required teamwork, ingenuity, and unshakable courage. In the midst of battle, commanders began to adapt, using unconventional strategies to exploit weaknesses in the alien formations. Small victories showed that with creativity and coordination, humans could delay the enemy, though the cost was high. Entire squads were lost, and the victories were temporary. Yet every human who fought gained experience and insight, learning how the alien forces operated, discovering patterns in their movement, and preparing for larger counterattacks that might come once new strategies or technologies were in place. The first clash set the tone for what would become a long and grueling war. Humanity realized the enemy was unlike anything they had ever faced, powerful, efficient, and merciless. Yet even in this darkest hour, small sparks of hope glimmered. The bravery of a few inspired many. The possibility of awakening ancient Terran powers became a whispered promise of salvation. And humans understood that to survive, they would have to fight smarter, act faster, and believe that even against impossible odds, they could endure, adapt, and strike back. Humanity's first confrontation with the alien armada was devastating, teaching hard lessons about their limitations, their enemy's strength, and the cost of complacency. Yet within this destruction lay the seeds of resilience, courage, and ingenuity, lessons that would prepare them for the battles to come. As the war had only begun, and the true test of human resolve was yet to be revealed. Amid the chaos of the alien attacks, hope began to flicker in unexpected places, deep within a research station on a remote planet. An old historian carefully examined ancient archives. Dusty tomes and faded schematics hinted at technologies humanity had long forgotten. Stories of Terran dreadnoughts, immense ships built centuries ago, with power and weapons far beyond anything currently available, surfaced in conversation. For decades, these vessels had been considered myths, relics of a forgotten era. But now, in the shadow of annihilation, even whispers of their existence brought excitement and possibility. Engineers and scientists, desperate for solutions, worked tirelessly to interpret the ancient texts, translating cryptic diagrams and piecing together incomplete notes. They built simulations to understand how these dreadnoughts could function, discovering designs that seemed almost magical, energy systems that generated immense power with minimal fuel, shields that adapted and repaired themselves, weapons capable of piercing the strongest materials. The more they studied, the more they realized that these ships could change the course of the war if they could be reactivated. Fleet admirals debated whether it was worth the risk to pursue these forgotten powers. Some argued that attempting to rebuild or awaken the dreadnoughts could waste precious time and resources, while others believed that without them, humanity had no chance at survival. Secret meetings were held, strategies drawn and redrawn, and slowly a plan emerged. The ancient Terran fleet would be sought out, restored, and integrated into the current human forces. The effort became humanity's best hope and a rallying point for those fighting on the front lines. The discovery inspired pilots and soldiers, their morale lifted by the possibility that the legends were true. Training intensified. Simulations combined modern tactics with potential dreadnought capabilities. Young cadets studied diagrams of the ancient vessels, imagining themselves aboard the massive ships as they faced alien enemies. Older veterans shared stories of the early Terran expansions, reminding everyone that humans had always faced impossible odds, survived, and adapted, and that now was no different. In laboratories, engineers tested prototypes based on the recovered schematics, creating small models and experimental weapons inspired by ancient designs. Some failed spectacularly, but others showed promise, giving scientists tangible proof that the myths could become reality. Their excitement spread through the research stations. Technicians and mathematicians worked around the clock, calculating power outputs, shielding capacities, and energy consumption. Every discovery felt like unlocking a secret long buried by time, and every small success added fuel to the hope that humanity could fight back. Meanwhile, on the front lines, commanders coordinated with research teams, adjusting strategies to account for the potential arrival of these ancient ships. Scouts were sent to locate hidden depots and abandoned stations where dreadnoughts might still exist. And rumors of their locations circulated quickly, both inspiring and frustrating soldiers, as some reported glimpses of massive hulls hidden in asteroid fields or derelict starports. Humanity's desperation made even the faintest hint of support feel monumental. As news of the possible Terran awakening spread, civilians also found hope. Communities that had prepared for evacuation now began contributing to defense efforts, building supplies, assisting in communications, and training in emergency tactics. The idea that humanity could awaken a hidden power rekindled determination across planets, uniting people who had previously feared that all was lost, and providing a shared purpose that went beyond survival. It became about reclaiming the legacy of Terrans and proving that humans could rise even from despair. Even within the military, the combination of old and new technologies became a source of innovation. Engineers and tacticians brainstormed ways to integrate modern ships with potential dreadnought support, communication systems were adapted, and experimental formations were tested in simulations. Every small step forward reinforced the idea that humans were not powerless, that ingenuity and courage could overcome even the most terrifying odds, and that the alien armada might finally be met with a force they could not ignore. The historian continued to guide the teams, deciphering the most complex texts, connecting stories of Terran victories from centuries past to the current crisis. Each piece of recovered knowledge seemed to confirm that the dreadnoughts were not just weapons, but symbols of human resilience, designed to appear when humanity needed them most, as the first simulations showed promise. The leaders of the human fleets began planning the journey to awaken these ancient titans. Realizing that this discovery could shift the war, giving humans not just a chance to survive, but a chance to turn the tide against an overwhelming enemy. For the first time since the alien arrival, hope was tangible. The combination of rediscovered history, ancient technology, and human determination created a sense of purpose stronger than fear. Humanity prepared for a daring move that could either save them or cost them everything. And as engineers, historians, and commanders worked together, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the moment when the ancient Terran powers would awaken, and the real fight would begin. Deep within a hidden asteroid forge, long-abandoned Terran dreadnoughts lay dormant, their massive hulls scarred by time but still intact. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to reactivate the ancient ships, following cryptic schematics pieced together from centuries-old texts. Power cores that had not run for generations were carefully examined, cleaned, and recharged. The room hummed with anticipation and tension as technicians monitored every reading. Every spark of energy, knowing that a single mistake could destroy the fragile systems and end humanity's hope. As the first dreadnought's engines roared to life, a surge of energy rippled through the asteroid forge. The massive vessel shook slightly as dormant systems awakened. Its weapons hummed with latent power, and shields glowed with a strange, almost living light. Engineers watched in awe, realizing that the ancient technology was more advanced than they had imagined. Sensors lit up, power readings stabilized, and the ship transmitted a faint signal, confirming that it was fully operational, the first proof that humanity could harness these forgotten titans. Teams immediately began preparations to awaken additional dreadnoughts scattered across other hidden locations. Coordination was essential. Fleets mapped routes through asteroid belts and abandoned stations, avoiding both natural hazards and alien patrols. The process required precision and speed, as every dreadnought took weeks of careful work to restore. Yet each successful awakening gave humans renewed confidence. The sheer size and power of these ancient ships inspired awe among engineers, commanders, and crew, who now had tangible evidence that the legends of old Terran power were real. While the dreadnoughts came online, strategists began planning how to integrate them with modern fleets. Simulations tested different formations, combining ancient firepower with contemporary tactics. Commanders realized that these massive ships could act as mobile fortresses, turning the tide of battle wherever they went. Fleet morale soared as crews imagined the first strike, envisioning alien vessels faltering under the combined might of human ingenuity and Terran engineering. The sense of invincibility that had faded during initial attacks began to return, tempered by the knowledge that careful planning was still critical. Communication networks were upgraded to connect the reactivated dreadnoughts with command centers and frontline fleets. AI-assisted systems synchronized ancient and modern technology. Sensors allowed dreadnoughts to anticipate threats and coordinate attacks with human pilots. Simulations ran continuously, testing how the ancient ships would respond to alien energy weapons. Shields adapted in milliseconds, and weapon arrays could fire with unprecedented precision. Each test reinforced the belief that humanity now possessed a force capable of challenging the alien armada. The awakening also became a symbol of hope for civilians. Broadcasts from the asteroid forges showed massive ships lighting up the void, inspiring communities across colonies. Families who had feared the alien arrival now felt that salvation was possible. Volunteers and technicians supported the efforts by building spare components, providing materials, and maintaining communications. The sense of unity grew stronger, demonstrating that survival was not just about ships and weapons, but about the collective spirit of humanity working together against overwhelming odds. As each new dreadnought came online, the scale of the project became staggering. The combined power of multiple titans was awe-inspiring, their energy systems pulsing like living hearts, weapons arrays aligned, shields glowing in the darkness of space. Fleet admirals plotted coordinated strikes, realizing that these ancient vessels could punch through alien defenses that had seemed impenetrable. The human forces prepared to move with renewed purpose, understanding that timing, coordination, and courage would be the keys to success. Engineers faced countless challenges, from stabilizing ancient reactors to recalibrating centuries-old navigation systems. Every problem solved became a victory, fueling determination and optimism. Even small successes had a massive psychological impact, showing that humanity could overcome not only alien forces, but the limitations of its own history. These ships, long forgotten, were not just tools of war, but symbols of human resilience, creativity, and the ability to rise from despair. Finally, when the first full battalion of dreadnoughts was ready, they transmitted a unified signal across the sector, a warning to the alien armada and a message of defiance. Human fleets began to mobilize around them. Formations designed to maximize the ancient ship's strength were executed flawlessly in simulations. Every captain and crew member knew the importance of the moment, understanding that the awakening of these titans marked the beginning of humanity's chance to turn the tide of the war. The first movement of the ancient fleet into operational positions created a sense of awe across the galaxy. Alien forces detected the surge of energy and paused. Unsure what power humanity had unleashed, the universe seemed to hold its breath as humans prepared to reclaim their destiny, combining centuries of lost knowledge with courage, strategy, and determination. The awakening of the Terran dreadnoughts had transformed fear into hope, despair into action, and the impossible into a real possibility, signaling that humanity was ready to fight back with everything it had. The first dreadnought moved into position, its massive engines glowing with ancient energy, cutting through the darkness of space like a living fortress. Humans watched in awe as it approached the alien flagship. Energy weapons on the dreadnought roared to life, beams of incredible power striking alien hulls with devastating effect. Shields that had seemed impenetrable melted under the force. Alien vessels faltered, their formations broken by the sheer presence of this ancient warship. The tide of battle began to shift, even slightly, but enough to give humans a renewed sense of hope. Human fleets, inspired by the awakening of the dreadnought, followed with precise coordination, their movements carefully calculated to complement the massive ancient vessel. Pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire while striking at weak points revealed by the dreadnought's attacks. Each successful strike bolstered morale, showing that the alien armada could be challenged. Fleet admirals adjusted their strategies in real time, taking advantage of the confusion caused in the enemy ranks. Small victories began to accumulate, and the first real sense of control returned to humanity's forces. The alien forces were caught off guard, unable to predict the sudden resurgence of human power. Their sensors and weapons struggled against the combination of modern fleet tactics and ancient dreadnought technology. Alien commanders realized that their numerical advantage no longer guaranteed success. The first cracks appeared in their once perfect formations. Panic began to ripple through the armada, even among the highest-ranking officers who had assumed that humanity would be crushed in hours. The unexpected resilience of humans introduced a new uncertainty into the conflict. As the battle unfolded, stories of bravery spread among human forces. Pilots risking everything to shield civilian transports, crews manning damaged ships continuing to fight despite critical failures, engineers aboard the dreadnoughts making real-time adjustments to weapons and shields, all working together to turn the tide. Every small victory had a psychological impact, showing that humans were not just surviving. They were adapting, learning, and fighting back in ways the aliens had never anticipated. Commanders on the dreadnought coordinated strikes with precision, targeting alien supply lines and command vessels, disrupting their operations. Alien ships that had seemed unstoppable were destroyed or forced to retreat, and human fleets began to reclaim space that had been lost in the first assaults. The combination of strategy, courage, and ancient technology created a new battlefield dynamic, one where humans could impose their will, rather than merely reacting to alien attacks. The first clear signs of a turning point emerged. Meanwhile, civilians watching broadcasts from afar were inspired. The sight of dreadnoughts firing and human fleets advancing gave them hope. Resistance movements on occupied colonies gained momentum. People found courage in the knowledge that their species had powerful tools and brave leaders capable of standing against overwhelming odds. Across the galaxy, morale shifted from fear and despair to determination and unity. Humans began to believe that victory was possible, that they could reclaim their worlds, and that the alien threat was not invincible. Engineers continued to optimize the dreadnought systems during the battle, repairing damage instantly, recalibrating weapons for maximum efficiency, and adjusting shields to absorb and reflect alien energy attacks. These improvements enhanced the effectiveness of the fleet in real time, allowing humans to sustain longer engagements than the aliens had anticipated. Every adjustment gave humans an edge, slowly but surely eroding the advantage that the alien armada had once held. The synergy between ancient and modern technology became a key factor in the unfolding conflict. Human pilots, emboldened by the dreadnought's success, performed maneuvers that combined speed, precision, and calculated risk, intercepting alien reinforcements and cutting off escape routes. Each engagement taught valuable lessons about the enemy's tactics, weaknesses, and patterns. This knowledge allowed human forces to refine strategies in the heat of battle, showing that adaptability, courage, and innovation could level the playing field against a technologically superior foe. By the end of the engagement, the alien fleet had suffered significant losses, their formations fractured, and their morale shaken. The first major victory for humanity had been achieved, not solely through numbers or brute force, but through ingenuity, cooperation, and the awakening of long-lost Terran technology. For the first time, humans realized that the tide of the war could be turned, that the alien armada was not invincible, and that courage, determination, and rediscovered power could allow humanity to fight back. Even as the battle ended, commanders and crews knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would regroup and strike again. But the first dreadnought had proven the potential of humanity's ancient power, and the victory had sparked a wave of hope across the galaxy, teaching humans that with courage, strategy, and the right tools, even the most impossible enemy could be challenged, and that the awakening of the Terran dreadnoughts marked the start of humanity reclaiming its place as a dominant force in the stars. Even with the dreadnoughts now active, humanity faced heavy losses. The alien armada was relentless, striking at colonies, supply lines, and fleet formations with brutal efficiency. Entire squads of human pilots were lost in moments, orbital stations were damaged or destroyed, and the cost of survival weighed heavily on commanders and civilians alike. Every victory came with sacrifice, and every strategic move required careful calculation, as humans learned that courage alone was not enough to win. Soldiers and crews displayed extraordinary bravery, defending key positions despite overwhelming odds. Some risked their lives to protect civilian evacuations, flying into dangerous zones with little chance of returning. Engineers remained on the dreadnoughts, working under fire to repair weapons, shields, and propulsion systems. Their dedication ensured that the ships remained operational, and every repaired system became a lifeline for human forces. Each act of courage inspired others to keep fighting, reinforcing the sense that survival depended on unity and determination. Commanders experimented with new strategies, blending ancient Terran technology with modern fleet tactics. They coordinated attacks that exploited weaknesses discovered in previous battles. Small groups of ships acted as decoys, drawing alien forces into ambushes set by dreadnoughts and supporting vessels. These carefully planned maneuvers required precise timing and trust among crews. Any mistake could result in catastrophe. Yet the human forces adapted quickly, learning from each encounter, improving coordination, and becoming increasingly effective in combat. Alliances with previously neutral star systems strengthened humanity's position. As neighboring civilizations witnessed human resilience and the power of the dreadnoughts, diplomats and fleet commanders worked together to gain support, offering resources, intelligence, and safe passage in exchange for military aid. Reinforcements arrived, and the combined fleets began to pressure the alien armada on multiple fronts. The collaboration showed that survival was not just a human effort, but a joint struggle across the galaxy, and that unity could overcome even the most powerful enemies. Civilians contributed in vital ways, from constructing supplies and spare parts for the dreadnoughts to maintaining communications and intelligence networks. Communities that had once feared the alien invasion now found purpose in defending their worlds. Training programs prepared volunteers for emergency roles, and morale was boosted by the visible successes of the human fleets. The sense of shared responsibility created a network of support that extended from frontline battles to the homeworlds, demonstrating that victory required more than ships and weapons. It required the heart and spirit of every person. The harsh reality of war was never far away, as each engagement demanded sacrifices. Families mourned those who did not return, and even the most experienced pilots faced moments of terror. Yet these losses strengthened resolve, reminding humans why they fought, teaching them resilience, endurance, and the importance of working together. Commanders used every encounter as a learning opportunity, adjusting strategies, and ensuring that each new battle improved humanity's ability to withstand the alien assault. Engineers and scientists continued to innovate, integrating lessons from combat into dreadnought systems and fleet tactics. Shields were recalibrated to adapt faster to alien weapons. Energy weapons were modified for greater accuracy and power, and AI-assisted systems improved coordination between ships. These enhancements allowed human forces to sustain longer engagements, perform complex maneuvers, and recover quickly from damage, proving that adaptability and ingenuity could turn the tide even against a superior enemy. Throughout the campaigns, stories of heroism spread quickly, boosting morale and inspiring others to act with courage. Small squads defending critical points, pilots performing daring rescues, and engineers working tirelessly under fire became legends. These stories united human forces, reminding them that every individual contribution mattered, that bravery could shift the balance of a battle, and that even in the darkest hours, hope could be preserved through action and determination. The combined lessons of sacrifice, strategy, and innovation strengthened humanity's overall position, teaching fleet commanders to anticipate alien movements, predict weaknesses, and coordinate forces more effectively. Young recruits gained experience under the guidance of veterans, creating a new generation of skilled and resilient soldiers. And every successful operation, no matter how small, demonstrated that humans could survive and adapt, learning to fight smarter and more efficiently with each encounter. By the end of these campaigns, humanity understood that survival was never guaranteed, that every victory came at a cost, and that courage, strategy, and unity were essential. The dreadnoughts had provided a powerful edge, but the war demanded constant adaptation, relentless effort, and the willingness to sacrifice. Civilians, engineers, pilots, and commanders alike contributed to a growing strength that gave humanity a real chance to reclaim its position in the galaxy, proving that even against overwhelming odds, determination and resilience could prevail. The alien fleet regrouped, concentrating all its remaining forces for one massive final strike. Their ships moved with terrifying speed and coordination, aiming to crush human defenses and destroy the awakened dreadnoughts before they could fully unleash their power. Human commanders anticipated the attack, analyzing every pattern from previous battles, preparing a trap that relied on careful timing, precise positioning, and the combined firepower of ancient and modern fleets. Every ship knew its role. Every pilot understood the stakes, and the tension across the human forces was almost unbearable. As the alien armada entered the trap, humans executed their strategy flawlessly. Decoy squadrons lured enemy vessels into narrow corridors between asteroids, while dreadnoughts waited in ambush, energy weapons charged and shields glowing. When the signal came, the dreadnoughts unleashed devastating firepower, beams and projectiles slicing through alien ships with unmatched precision. Alien formations broke apart, confusion spread through their ranks, and human pilots took advantage, striking from unexpected angles and overwhelming isolated groups. The first moments of battle set the tone for a decisive confrontation. Pilots risked everything, maneuvering through intense fire, intercepting alien reinforcements, and protecting critical positions. Every movement required courage and skill, and every strike had to be perfectly timed. While engineers aboard dreadnoughts adjusted shields, repaired systems under fire, and recalibrated weapons to maximize efficiency. The coordination between human crews and ancient technology created a force the aliens had not anticipated. Their overwhelming numbers no longer guaranteed victory, and the first signs of panic appeared in the enemy fleet. Alien commanders struggled to adapt, their strategies failing against human ingenuity. They attempted to reorganize, but human fleets anticipated their moves, cutting off supply lines and escape routes. Every engagement further weakened the alien armada. Morale among human forces grew, inspired by each victory, and the dreadnought's presence became a symbol of unyielding strength. Energy weapons flaring with destructive power, shields absorbing even the deadliest attacks. Humanity proved that bravery, strategy, and long-forgotten technology could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The battle raged across space, massive explosions lighting the void, debris from destroyed ships floating like shattered stars. Yet humans held their formations, adapting to every new threat. fleet commanders constantly communicated with pilots and dreadnought crews, adjusting strategies in real time. The synergy of centuries-old power and modern tactics created a rhythm that the aliens could not counter. Each strike was deliberate, each maneuver calculated, and the human forces gained momentum, slowly but surely pushing the enemy back. Even amidst the chaos, acts of heroism inspired others, pilots risking their lives to protect civilians and fellow soldiers, engineers performing miracles under impossible conditions, and commanders making split-second decisions that turned potential disaster into success. These stories spread quickly, boosting morale and reinforcing the belief that humanity could survive and prevail. Every small victory contributed to a growing sense of confidence, and the alien armada began to lose the cohesion that had once made it terrifying. As the final phase of the battle unfolded, humans coordinated concentrated strikes on the alien command vessels, targeting leaders and communication hubs, dismantling the enemy's ability to organize, while dreadnoughts acted as mobile fortresses, absorbing fire and delivering devastating counterattacks. Pilots used speed and agility to exploit openings created by the ancient ships. The combined effect was overwhelming. Alien ships faltered, retreated, or were destroyed, and for the first time, humanity saw a clear path to victory. The battle tested every aspect of human strength: courage, skill, intelligence, and the ability to adapt under pressure. Every decision mattered. Every sacrifice counted, and the cooperation between humans and ancient Terran technology demonstrated that survival was possible through unity and ingenuity. Civilians and military personnel alike felt the impact, knowing that their contributions, whether on the front lines or supporting from behind, had made the decisive difference. By the end of the confrontation, the alien fleet was shattered, formations broken, command destroyed, and morale utterly defeated. The dreadnoughts stood as titanic symbols of human resilience, their energy cores pulsing and shields still strong. Human pilots had learned, adapted, and fought with unmatched bravery. And the victory proved that even against an enemy far superior in numbers and technology, humans could prevail, not just by strength, but through courage, strategy, and rediscovered power. The aftermath of the final confrontation left humans exhausted but victorious. The galaxy had witnessed the awakening of Terran power, the effectiveness of combined tactics, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. Lessons from the battle would guide future strategies, and the knowledge that even impossible odds could be overcome inspired every corner of human civilization. The war was far from over, but the first decisive victory had proven that humanity could fight back, reclaim its place in the stars, and face any challenge with courage, ingenuity, and unity. When the last alien vessel exploded into fragments, silence fell across the battlefield. Human fleets hovered among the debris, scanning for any remaining threats. The war had not been easy. Countless lives had been lost, and entire worlds had been scarred by the conflict. Yet the victory was undeniable. The ancient Terran dreadnoughts had proven their power, their massive hulls gleaming in the starlight, energy cores still humming, weapon systems online, ready to defend humanity again if necessary. The galaxy had witnessed the return of a force long forgotten, and humans felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. Civilians cheered in colonies across star systems, watching as the fleets returned victorious. The images of dreadnoughts leading the charge inspired hope, courage, and unity. Families who had feared for their loved ones celebrated survival, and resistance movements that had been preparing quietly now stepped into the light, eager to rebuild and protect their homes. Stories of heroism, daring maneuvers, and sacrifices spread quickly, reminding everyone that the battle had been won not just through technology, but through determination, creativity, and unbreakable spirit. Commanders and leaders began the painstaking task of reorganizing human forces, repairing damaged ships, and planning for a future where the alien threat might return. The lessons of the war had been harsh but valuable, showing the importance of preparation, adaptability, and cooperation. Fleet coordination now included the ancient dreadnoughts as central assets, their power reshaping the strategies of defense and offense. Scientists documented every discovery, every modification, ensuring that future generations would benefit from both modern and Terran technologies. The dreadnoughts themselves became symbols of human resilience, moving majestically through space as reminders of the potential that lay hidden in humanity's past. Their activation had not only turned the tide of battle, but had reignited a sense of identity, showing humans that their ingenuity, courage, and willingness to face impossible odds were part of their very nature. Pilots and crew who had fought alongside these titans felt a connection to history, understanding that they were continuing a legacy that had waited for the right moment to return. Across the galaxy, humans began rebuilding. Colonies that had been destroyed were reconstructed, supply lines restored, and trade routes reopened. The sense of unity that had developed during the war strengthened alliances, new partnerships formed, and previously neutral systems pledged support. The shared experience of survival created bonds that would last generations. And the memory of the war became a source of inspiration, reminding humans that even when facing overwhelming odds, courage and determination could triumph. Engineers and scientists continued to study the dreadnoughts, learning more about the advanced systems that had been dormant for centuries. Energy cores, shield technology, and weapon systems were documented and adapted, ensuring that humanity would not only maintain these assets, but continue improving them. New fleets incorporated lessons from the battle, blending ancient Terran designs with modern technology to create even more formidable defenses. The knowledge gained promised a stronger and safer future for humanity across the stars. Stories of heroism became legend, teaching future generations about sacrifice, bravery, and the importance of unity. Memorials were created for those who had given their lives, while survivors shared first-hand experiences, showing that victory had been achieved through cooperation, strategy, and faith in humanity's capabilities. These tales became part of culture and education, inspiring young minds to dream boldly, act bravely, and always remember that the impossible could be overcome through perseverance, courage, and intelligence. As humans reflected on the war, they realized that the galaxy had changed forever. The alien threat had been defeated, but the existence of ancient Terran technology proved that humanity had untapped potential, waiting for moments of crisis. Confidence grew in human capabilities, colonies strengthened defenses, and fleets remained vigilant, prepared for any challenge. The awakening of Terran dreadnoughts had not only secured survival, but had reshaped humanity's place in the stars, demonstrating that even against overwhelming forces, they could rise, adapt, and prevail. The galaxy now looked at humanity differently. Once considered vulnerable and limited, humans were now seen as resilient, resourceful, and capable of extraordinary feats. Their courage and ingenuity had rewritten the rules of engagement, and their survival became a symbol for all civilizations, inspiring respect and perhaps caution among neighboring species. Humanity had survived not only by power, but by rediscovering its history, embracing innovation, and uniting in ways that transformed fear into action and despair into hope. Even as celebrations and reconstruction continued, humanity knew that vigilance would always be necessary. The universe was vast and unpredictable, but the war had taught a profound lesson. Humans could endure, adapt, and overcome, drawing strength from their own ingenuity, courage, and legacy. The Terran dreadnoughts stood as eternal guardians, a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity had the power to awaken greatness, protect its future, and claim its place among the stars, a legacy that would inspire generations to come. Vene.